Yeshua in Luke chapter 12 says some unsettling and unexpected words. I mean, often people take a look at who Yeshua is and they come to the conclusion that he's kind of a peace, love, and chocolate chip cookies kind of hippie. But in Luke chapter 12, this is what he says. I have come to bring a fire on the earth. How I wish it was already kindled, but I have an immersion to undergo, and what constraint I am under until it is completed. Do you think that I come to bring shalom, or peace on earth? No, I tell you, but division. From now on there will be 5 in one family divided against each other, 3 against 2, and 2 against 3. They will be divided, father against son, and son against father, mother against daughter, and daughter against mother, mother-in-law against daughter-in-law, and daughter-in-law against mother-in-law. Why bring this up? Some people are under the impression that what they should do is speak kind, smooth, and encouraging words on a regular basis. I take a look at this and go, kind, smooth, and encouraging words are good and they're excellent, but the truth of the matter is simple. It is better to tell the truth to people so that they will have a worldview that works, rather than tell people things that they would enjoy in the short term, but would end up getting shaken and rattled later on. As this is being videoed, come back after the weekend, and my trusty camera guy asked me about what happened over the weekend, and honestly, I wasn't hooked to computers, and I wasn't hooked to the internet, and I wasn't hooked to keeping track of everything going on in international politics. But we've had a real problem in terms of what's been going on in the Middle East. And Gaza has attempted for a year to destroy Israel after an exceedingly provocative attack in October 7th, 2023. And there has been ongoing battle, ongoing fights, ongoing difficulty. And then Hezbollah, which is in the north, ended up believing that Israel was too preoccupied with Gaza to the point where they became more and more emboldened to use Lebanon, which is north of Israel, as a ground to attack Israel with rockets, to the point where there were 800 to 1,000 rockets somewhere in that area that came from Hezbollah in the north. So Israel, as she is fighting a battle in the south, all of a sudden has significant rocket attacks from the north, and has villages in the north that need to be evacuated from residents because of the opening up of a second front war. And then there is a series of focused and concentrated attacks on people who are part of the militia in the north. And then in response to that, Iran, who is funding all of the attacks on Israel, whether they're from the north or the south, or even groups that are to the east of Israel, like the Houthi. But all of this is going on all at once, and then Iran itself ends up launching 180 to 200 rockets, somewhere in that vicinity, and you end up having battles in all directions. And the reason that I read to you the scripture that Yeshua talked about, how he has an immersion of fire to go through, and that there is going to be conflict, and that there are going to be people who are going to be pitted against their very own family, is that some would look at the level of conflict in our present age, which matters to us more, but would also take a look at historic conflicts and say, can Yeshua really be Messiah if he has not brought peace on earth? And indeed, that is the primary objection that many Orthodox and otherwise religious Jews have against the Messiahship of Yeshua, in that it talks about Messiah coming quite correctly as him being a person who brings shalom and brings peace to the earth, and they look at the earth and say, this is not a planet that is at peace. So, is he the one whom we were expecting, or should we be looking for another? This was a question that was asked of Yochanan the Immerser, known as John the Baptist, who ended up immersing Yeshua and who saw the Spirit of God come down from heaven in a fashion like a dove, and was very convinced at the beginning that Yeshua was the person who God had sent to deal with the problems of the world. But when things took a horrific personal turn for him, he was shaken. He was not sure that he could trust that this one whom he had recognized really was the one who was going to fix everything, because it didn't look like everything was getting fixed. So, you live in a time of conflict. You live on the precipice of war. You live in a time where there are people who are talking about conflict between Ukraine and Russia. There are people who are very concerned about whether China will use conflicts on other parts of the globe in order to invade and take Taiwan, which is a place of great technological wealth, and a place that China and the West both totally rely on. There is question as to what other areas might be advantageous, as Russia is seeking a buffer from NATO in the West, and China is looking to grab the jewel technologically of the Far East and bring under her control, and as a whole variety of other things are going on around the world. This is why I want you to know of an obscure passage that's rarely preached on, rarely taught on, where Yeshua says, I've not come to bring peace, but my coming has instigated even greater conflict. And the conflict that it has instigated is a conflict that is going to reach into even families, and even the tightest and the most attached of relationships, parents, children, those whom we're related to by covenant and marriage. All these people are going to end up being in a point of conflict because of Yeshua. And if this is the case, it is not a surprise that tribes will be separated because of this. It's not a surprise that a variety of different peoples will end up being in a position where, as they take different positions on who God is, on what life is, what truth is, what the worldview ought to be, and are in conflicts based on mineral rights, based on water, based on the ability to grow food, based on a whole variety of other things going on. The understanding should be very simple. And the understanding is going to be this, that Yeshua, while we are living in an era and in a time where there is conflicting opinions on whether he is Messiah or not. There are conflicting opinions on who God is. There are conflicting opinions on Scripture. There's conflicting opinions on the Bible. There's conflicting opinions on the Quran. There's conflicting opinions on polytheism. There's conflicting opinions on Eastern meditation and different worldviews and different things that have raised up in order to provide a religious banner for a whole variety of worldviews. These things are not going to give way easily. And Yeshua has promised that he is Messiah. He is the one infusing his followers with power. He is the one who is mighty, who is amazing, who is the one who has come to bring shalom, bring peace, bring forgiveness, bring a dealing with sin, and bring people who otherwise are without hope and purpose. He has come to fix all of this. But it only happens for those who embrace him, those who accept him, those who turn from their sin, turn from their wickedness, and turn from the things that are problematic for them. Shalom.